Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about pins and what you need to do to start making them, and some simple tips that you should keep in mind before you even produce your first one. I really believe anyone can make them. They're so much fun to create and see your miniature artwork, and they're so much fun to collect as well. These 5 tips are simple things that you need to keep in mind before you get started, and hopefully will save you some money. I know for me, I would have saved a little bit of money on my first pin if I would have known these things beforehand, and I hope it come handy to you. I thought, hey, let's go ahead and share this that I know so far, and hope you enjoy it. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. By no means do I think I know everything about enamel pins, but these are some things that I truly wish I would have known, and I think they will come in handy for you as you get started. So the very first thing you need to know when making your first enamel pin is the anatomy of a pin. There's various types of pins. The most common are soft enamel and hard enamel pins, and not all artwork that you make would be suitable for a pin. Think of a pin as an outlined drawing. Your designs need to be simple and clean and contain all your colors around. All your colors needs to be inside an outline, basically, so that when they pour the enamel inside, it doesn't spill to the surrounding colors. It's just the most simple way to think about it. And then the differences between the two major types of pins that you can make, the soft and the hard enamel, is just the way that they look. You can see the example right here on the screen. One has like a polish feel to it, and it looks very shiny. And the other one has a little bit of a divot where the color goes in. That's the soft enamel pin. Just keep that in mind as you're producing artwork. It'll come really handy so that when you turn in your artwork for production, you don't have to make that many edits to proceed. The second most important thing you have to keep in mind when making your first pin is how to choose what design to produce. That goes hand in hand with what type of pin you're going to be making. For example, some artwork, we were already talking about some artwork that are too complicated. I would suggest that you simplify this piece of artwork before you turn it in for production. That way, if it has very tiny details, sometimes it won't be able to fit in and they won't be able to fill in the little color, and it'll look a little sloppy. Also, try to keep in mind what type of designs you've created that you know people will like to buy. In the long run, you're gonna have to produce the pins and pay for the pins first before anything else, and you will want to know what designs will sell so that you're able to make that money back. There is a lot more details on the differences between the soft and hard enamel pins and some other variations that you can make out of that. And there's also ways that you can simplify your artwork to make it more suitable to be made into an enamel pin. If you would like for me to go into more detail in future videos on the whole anatomy of the pin, the differences between the two major types, and what type of pin to produce for yourself or which one would be best for you, please let me know in the comments. I would love to go into more details on that for you. The third tip that all beginners must know is the importance of choosing a reliable manufacturer. A lot of pin makers do not like to give out their manufacturers, and personally, I think that is their decision to make. I struggled a lot trying to find one, and I decided to go directly to factory. I work directly with factories in China to produce my pins. Most, if not all, manufacturers are directly in China. And most companies that you will find here in the US function as a broker between yourself and those factories. I definitely recommend going this route if you are brand new and you won't have to deal directly with the manufacturer and not have that pressure on top of you. There will be someone else guiding you through the process. However, please remember that initial investment might be a little bit more depending on their prices and service fees. I've included in the description some of the companies here in the US that I've found produce really good quality work, as well as the website I use to contact factories directly. Whichever route you take, I hope you do your research properly and establish some good communication between yourself and the person that's helping you with production. Here you can see a real life example of a quote request I sent to my factory when I was starting to produce my first collection. As you can see, I had just started doodling my design, but I knew exactly how many I wanted and about the size that I needed. I just needed to know the price right before so that I could start creating my Kickstarter based on how much it would cost. You would also need to know and keep in mind, how would I be presenting these pins? Start thinking about presentation. I didn't really find out about this until halfway through my production. If you plan to sell these to the public, you definitely want to focus on how you are presenting your pins. Most pins come in little clear baggies, as you can see right here. Most of the time, you do not want to be sending them out like that. You want to create a backing card to go with them. You can create this on any program you prefer and use a printer to print them using at least 16-point cardstock or so, or using business cards. I've also included some of the print services I've used in the past and definitely recommend Print Dirt Cheap, as they are great in communicating and customer service and back and forth, and if there's anything that you need to fix in your design, they are right on top of that and they're really great. And finally, start thinking, am I gonna sell these pins? How am I gonna sell this? Am I gonna go to art fairs, art conventions? Am I gonna have an Etsy shop, a big cartel shop, a Shopify? Maybe it's directly to your followers through Instagram, or maybe you want to create your own online store. As a creator, I am truly still learning as I go, and I can honestly tell you, I did not quite think of this fully when I created my first pin. These are things that I wish I would have known as I made my first pin. Start thinking about it and keep that in mind as you go through the process of making your first pin. Make sure to subscribe and like this video to see more like it. And thank you so much for being here, and see you next week.